I'm just going to take a few minutes and I'm going to explain how it kind of works so that you get a sense of it. The other thing it does is it kind of prepares your body for the work. So I know it's going to seem like we're going to spend an hour or so just chatting, but really 95% of what we're doing is happening in our energetics. I believe that we're not just our body, that we're more than our body. Our body is only one component of what we are. If you've ever seen a bird that's alive and a bird that's dead, I mean, they have the same physical body, but one's going to fly away and the other one isn't. So the reason one's going to fly away is because it still has its life force energy attached to its physical body. What that told me was that's who we really are. We're the life force that's attached to our physical body, that our physical body is the vehicle for. The physical body is a part of who we are, but who we really are is actually something we can't see and only something we can feel. I'm like, okay, so if we're not the body, what other things are occurring? First thing that's occurring is you're always having thoughts. So you're having a mental body, and you can't have surgery on your mental body. I mean, you can't touch it, you can't taste it, you can't feel it. It's not like your body. It's not matter, but it absolutely exists because we're having thoughts. So it's there. So I'm like, okay, we have a thought body and a physical body. We're always having feelings. Feelings, again, you can't have surgery on those or people would be lined up around the block, I'm sure. So the feelings are another really important part of who we are. It's actually present in every relationship with everything. Our feelings are present in our relationship with ourselves, each other, our job, our life, everything. Those feelings are paramount. And so again, you can't touch them. They're not matter like your physical body. So we have that physical body, the mental body, and the emotional body. The other thing we have is we have beliefs and experiences. Our beliefs are basically based on our experiences and our conditioning and our teachings. Who am I in this world? Am I following this particular belief? Do I believe I can catch someone else's cold? Do I believe, right? Just what are my beliefs? And again, we can't touch them, feel them, taste them, have a physical experience of them, yet we're always experiencing them. So I'm like, that's what we are. We're the physical body, the mental body, the emotional body, and now what I call the spiritual body, meaning your belief systems and your experiences. So what you've experienced as a person, that's who you are. If I take the physical body away and I look at these three things, I'm going to say these three things are more of who I am. My physical body is like a map. It helps me interface with those three things, but those three things are really who we are. So then my question was, why do we spend so much time on our physical body, concern and all that kind of stuff, when really we haven't even addressed who we really are? We haven't addressed our emotions, we haven't addressed our thoughts, and we haven't addressed our belief systems. Like, I just let them run me. I don't exercise my mental body or my emotional body or my spiritual body. I just think they're happening to me. But in reality, they are you. So they can't be happening to you. But that's how we're raised. We're raised to think, say sorry when you cry, because it's okay to cry. It's in fact more healthy to cry than it is not to. We have this incredible human life, and no one's taught us how to be healthy emotionally, mentally, or spiritually. And yet that's 3/4 of what we are. And so naturally, baggage, all those emotional baggage, mental baggage, and spiritual baggage keeps getting passed to the next person, the next person, the next person. Until someone goes, I don't want to live like this anymore. I'm like, good. That's a good decision. It's a great decision to think, I don't want to live like this anymore. Which means then you're at the place where you want to shift and change. And what's so beautiful, what I love about the work I do, is it is almost all emotional, mental, and spiritual work. because you know how to look after your physical body. I don't have to go there. I'm not a physical doctor. But I think, wow, we have really not been taught how to be emotionally healthy, mentally healthy, or spiritually healthy. And so what I found as I walked that path was that my greatest freedom is found in my emotional trauma. Yeah. So anything I've experienced that has affected me emotionally, which is everything, by the way, there's nothing that doesn't affect you emotionally. It holds a space and an idea and a decision that I then carry with me through every other experience I have. It only responds to what I've done with it. So if I haven't dealt with it in any way, if I haven't really went in and went, okay, what was that all about? Which very few people do. They usually medicate it. So they drink, they work. That's a big one. They ignore, they distract. So one of the most specific things people do is distract themselves. So they'll distract themselves through being busy, being worried, being stressed, being tense, because that's a distraction. Then I don't have to deal with why I'm those things. But it's really kind of interesting because I always just say I'm a bit of a hard sell because I'm like, oh no, we're going to go into the thing that makes you most uncomfortable. But there's freedom in there. And the reason there's freedom in there is because once it's in your experience, it will always flavor your experience. If you had an experience as a child where you couldn't trust someone for whatever reason, they said they were coming and they didn't, they hurt you, they abused you, whatever, that's going to affect your trust with every relationship after. Until you go back to that first time and go, okay, I'm not 3 years old anymore. I need to go back into the pain my 3-year-old felt because that's what happened. The 3-year-old was in pain. And I need to go, it's okay. It's okay. Of course it hurt. And a 3-year-old doesn't have enough experience to know it wasn't their fault, that it was someone visiting their pain on them. And that's how it gets passed down. Because it's like the adult doesn't deal with their pain. And now they're flavored with their pain. And then they visited it upon the people they're conditioning. And so it's nobody's fault. But it is everybody's experience. And so what I'm willing to go into the pain and say, I don't want to carry this around. It's making me unhappy. Yeah. So you see how you're already touching it? Isn't it beautiful? But it is beautiful because you see, when we're not dealing with it, when we're not touching it, we're letting it stay. And we got to touch it. We got to touch it. We got to go into it. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to go into the pain that we're carrying around. And we're going to say, it's okay. This is a normal, natural reaction to what was happening. If someone was angry with you or hurt you, your reaction to that was valid. Especially as a child, when we have no tools. I always say children have a handful of screws and no screwdriver. They got no tools to deal with what's right there. And they don't know anything different. They have no comparison until they grow up and realize, oh my God, that wasn't normal. And so then we start judging the child because, well, how could you not see that? How could you not know that? And then judgment, oh man, that's really poisonous. So here we are, right? And that's how come our greatest freedoms in our trauma. Because when we free ourselves from it, it's not there. and it's not flavoring everything else you do. So you got to get used to the absence of it. And that's a beautiful thing, because what happens then is, it's kind of like, this is how I explain it. It's like every day when you leave your house, there's a giant rock in your driveway, and you have to drive around that giant rock to get out. And then when you get back home, you got to drive around it to get in. Your whole life, you've been driving around this rock, paying attention. Oh, right, don't forget there's a rock there. And you go around your whole life. And one day this giant truck comes and takes the rock away. And you're like, go to back out, and you're like, oh, the rock. Oh, wait a minute, the rock's not there. Right. Okay, I can just back up. And then you get there, you're like, oh my God, the rock. Oh no, the rock's not. So it's like something that's been there forever, all of a sudden isn't there. And it's like you have to repattern yourself. But the beauty of it is it's not in your way anymore. You're not navigating around it. I talk about our traumas as if they were giant rocks in our energy field. And we can't get rid of a rock. Like, you can't throw it away, because you live on the same planet. So it doesn't matter where you put it on the planet, you're still on the same planet. But what we can do is take the rock and pound it down into a powder. And then the thing that takes it away is a puff of wind. We can take the trauma that's trapped in our body and we can change its density. So it no longer is that giant rock in the driveway. It's lighter. And I always say this about ice, about water. So water in its densest state is ice. If you've ever tried to move ice or lift ice or do anything with ice, it's really heavy and unwieldy. That's like the trauma that's trapped in our body. We can do something really amazing. We can apply a higher, faster vibration called heat to that ice, and it turns into water. Now, water is still pretty heavy. It's not like ice, and it has a fluidity to it. It doesn't get in our way the same way. Well, if we add even more heat to water, it becomes steam, which we can just walk through. So that's what we can do with the things trapped in our body, with the traumas trapped in our body. It's the only thing we can do. So until we touch them, we can't melt them. Some of them melt with some few tears and you're good to go. But some of them are big and they need a little more attention. Pretty simple, right? And really, it is simple. It just takes some consistency. It takes mostly openness. It takes the openness to go, okay, you know what? I'll do that. I'm brave. I'm brave enough to live with it. I should be brave enough to let it go. And it's true, right? I mean, isn't it amazing that thinking about going into the pain seems worse than living with it? Just makes no sense, does it? But it's the truth. I mean, it takes less energy to go into it than it does to carry it. Think how much energy it would take to carry around a giant rock. It makes you tired. It attracts other heavy rocks because now you have to manage all the rocks, you know? But we could change the rock. Wouldn't that be awesome? I'm willing to look at what I don't want to look at so that I can let it go. So I can put it down. So I can make it lighter. And lighter is always better in terms of energy anyway. Thank you so much for listening to this session introduction. It's actually an excerpt from a session with a client. And I decided to make it available to people, largely because people ask me, what is it that you actually do? And surprisingly, that's a difficult question to answer because it's so outside of our physical experience and it's in our energetic, emotional, mental belief system experiences. And I just found that after this session, this is such a great explanation for what you can expect when you have a session, that we will be going into the places you don't want to go, which can be a bit of a hard sell. But I do know one thing, and having done this more than 15 years with not just other people, but myself, is that you can spend a lifetime walking around pain, walking around trauma, walking around the wound, avoiding the pain, even sometimes going and trying to get rid of the pain, medicating it, read the books, go to therapies, do all of those things. And they do assist. That's absolutely true. It all assists you. But what I have found is that when we go right from this base idea of the density of it and what you're carrying around, when we go right to the origin, the point of origin of something, we have this incredible opportunity to give it new perspective, new energy, and to literally heal it from the beginning. And then, of course, it heals in all directions from there. And all I can say is that walking with them through their wound and seeing that joy and that happiness and that freedom that they experience after we have done this emotional energy work, that's all that really matters to me. That's all that really matters, is that someone who was in pain, we had a great conversation, a few laughs, a few tears, and then that pain is absent. And it's not just what I help other people with. I do it for myself every day, every time something pops up. So it's not a do. It's a joy. It's a be. Thank you so much for listening. I know we'll connect one day. I'm looking forward to it.